For centuries, historians have engaged in intense debates regarding the true origins of the Slavic people. Who were they before they dispersed across nearly half of Europe? Were they an independent ancient civilization, or did they evolve from older ethnic groups? Today, genetic science is finally providing answers to these long-standing questions. The Slavs constitute one of the largest ethno-linguistic groups in Europe, with over 300 million individuals speaking Slavic languages. They are scattered across Eastern, Central, and Southeastern Europe, spanning from Russia and Poland in the north to Serbia and Bulgaria in the south. Despite their significant presence, the early history of the Slavs remains largely veiled in mystery. Traditional theories propose that they originated from the Pripyat marshes in present-day Ukraine and Belarus. In contrast, other scholars believe they descended from steppe nomads or even ancient Baltic tribes. However, groundbreaking genetic studies are now rewriting our understanding of Slavic ancestry. Recent DNA research has revealed that the Slavs share profound genetic connections with ancient Indo-European tribes, including early steppe populations. These findings challenge conventional narratives and offer unexpected insights into how the Slavs emerged as a dominant force in Europe. In this video, we will embark on an exploration of the captivating genetic origins of the Slavs, tracing their roots from the ancient past to their extensive expansion across the continent. Additionally, we will uncover how Slavic DNA was shaped by interactions with Vikings, Germanic tribes, and steppe warriors. By the end of this journey, you will understand how modern genetics presents a clearer picture of Slavic identity, a picture that is more intricate and interconnected than previously imagined. To commence our exploration, let's delve into the deep roots of the Slavic people and uncover the true beginning of their story. To comprehend the origins of the Slavs, we must travel back thousands of years to the era of early Indo-European migrations. Genetic studies have revealed that the Slavs are closely linked to ancient steppe populations, particularly the Yamnaya culture, which flourished around 3000 BC. The Yamnaya were pastoral nomads from the Pontic-Caspian steppe, an expansive region stretching from modern-day Ukraine to western Kazakhstan. They are regarded as one of the primary groups responsible for the spread of Indo-European languages across Europe and Asia. DNA evidence indicates that the Yamnaya people carried a distinctive genetic signature that persists in modern Slavic populations. This genetic connection links the Slavs to other Indo-European groups, such as the Celts, Germanic tribes, and even ancient Persians. However, what sets the Slavs apart is the way their ancestors intermingled with various groups over the centuries, giving rise to a unique genetic identity. By the Bronze Age, around 1500 BC, another significant population, the corded ware culture, spread across Central and Eastern Europe. These individuals were a blend of local Neolithic farmers and incoming steppe nomads. Genetic testing confirms that modern Slavic populations have a high percentage of ancestry from corded ware individuals. This means that while the Slavs share steppe origins with other Indo-Europeans, their genetic makeup was significantly influenced by extensive mixing with older European populations. Archaeological evidence also suggests connections between early Slavs and the Trinc culture, which thrived from 1900 to 1200 BC in modern-day Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. This culture featured unique burial customs and metalworking techniques that hint at the emergence of a distinct Slavic identity. Over time, these early groups evolved into the Proto-Slavs, an ancestral population that laid the foundation for the subsequent expansion of the Slavs. Thus, although the origins of the Slavs are complex, their deep genetic ties to steppe nomads, Bronze Age farmers, and ancient European cultures highlight a rich and diverse ancestry. But how did these early Slavic groups transform into the dominant force that shaped Eastern Europe? Let's explore their mysterious migration and expansion. One of the most pivotal moments in Slavic history was their extensive expansion across Europe, which began around the 5th and 6th century CE. This period, known as the Great Slavic Migration, permanently reshaped the ethnic and linguistic map of Europe. But what triggered this sudden movement? Historians and geneticists believe that the migration was largely influenced by the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. As Germanic and Hunnic tribes migrated westward, they left a power vacuum in Eastern Europe. This provided an opportunity for the early Slavic groups, likely originating from the Pripyat marshes in modern-day Ukraine and Belarus, to spread rapidly in all directions. Genetic studies support the notion that the early Slavs expanded through a combination of migration and assimilation rather than through the displacement of local populations. The Slavs often intermingled with these local groups, adopting new customs while preserving their language and identity. This is evident in the genetic diversity of modern Slavic nations, which exhibit varying degrees of influence from Germanic, Finno-Ugric, and even Turkic peoples. As they moved southward, Slavic groups encountered and mixed with remnants of the Roman Empire, giving rise to the South Slavs, including the Serbs, Croats, and Bulgarians. Meanwhile, those who migrated westward interacted with Germanic and Celtic populations, leading to the formation of the West Slavs, such as the Poles, Czechs, and Slovaks. Those who remained in the east continued to evolve into the ancestors of modern Russians, Ukrainians, and Belarusians. The expansion of the Slavs was not merely about population growth. It was also about their resilience and adaptability. Their ability to settle in new lands, blend with existing cultures, and establish powerful kingdoms made them one of the most significant groups in European history. But what genetic traces remain from these early expansions? And how did the Slavs continue to evolve during the medieval era? Let's delve deeper into the genetic legacy of medieval Slavic kingdoms. As the Slavs expanded across Europe, they established powerful medieval kingdoms and principalities that would shape their genetic and cultural heritage. How did these early Slavic states influence the genetic diversity observed in modern Slavic populations? One of the earliest and most influential Slavic states was Great Moravia, which emerged in the 9th century CE and covered parts of modern-day Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. Genetic research indicates that the people from this region carried a blend of early Slavic DNA with traces of Germanic and Avar Turkic ancestry. The interactions between these groups were not only political but also biological. Intermarriage between the Slavs and neighboring populations contributed to a rich genetic pool. Similarly, the Kievan Rus, which existed from the 9th to 13th century CE and was the precursor to modern Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, played a crucial role in shaping Slavic genetics. The rulers of Kievan Rus, particularly the Rurik dynasty, had Scandinavian Viking, Varangian, ancestry, meaning that Slavic and Norse genes mixed significantly. Genetic studies of medieval burial sites in Ukraine and Russia confirm this, as many individuals exhibit a combination of Slavic and Scandinavian DNA. This genetic mixing helped establish the diverse genetic makeup of Eastern Slavic populations. Further south, the First Bulgarian Empire, which lasted from the 7th to 11th century CE, was founded by Turkic Bulgars, who later underwent Slavicization through cultural and genetic assimilation. Modern Bulgarians retain Slavic genetic markers, but also exhibit traces of Turkic and Iranian ancestry, reflecting their complex medieval history. Another key factor that influenced Slavic genetics was the Mongol invasion in the 13th century. When the Mongols conquered Kievan Rus, they left a genetic imprint on some Slavic populations. Studies show that certain Eastern Slavs, particularly in Russia, carry small amounts of Mongolic and Central Asian DNA, providing evidence of historical interactions with the Golden Horde. The genetic legacy of these medieval Slavic kingdoms highlights the adaptability and diversity of Slavic populations. While their core ancestry remained rooted in early Slavic groups, centuries of interaction with Vikings, Germans, Turkic nomads, and Mongols created the rich genetic tapestry observed in Slavic nations today. But what about modern Slavic populations? How do their genetics compare to those of their medieval ancestors? Modern genetic studies have identified specific DNA markers that distinguish Slavic populations. One of the most significant genetic traits among the Slavs is the high frequency of the R1a Y-DNA haplogroup, a paternal lineage that can be traced back to the Indo-European steppe nomads. This haplogroup is especially prevalent among Eastern and Central Slavs, with some regions showing frequencies exceeding 50%. The R1a282 subclade is of particular importance, as it is almost exclusive to Slavic populations. This subclade likely emerged around 4,500 years ago among early Indo-European speakers, before spreading through Slavic expansion. Interestingly, this haplogroup is also found in high numbers among some non-Slavic populations, such as Lithuanians and Northern Indians, due to ancient migrations from the Eurasian steppe. Beyond paternal DNA, mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, studies indicate that the Slavs have a strong genetic continuity with early European populations. The maternal haplogroups H, U, and J, which are common across Europe, dominate Slavic gene pools. This suggests that while the Slavs expanded culturally and linguistically, they absorbed local populations rather than replacing them. Another genetic trait observed in the Slavs is a high tolerance for lactose digestion, indicating that dairy farming was an important part of their ancestors' lifestyle. This trait is particularly pronounced among West and Central Slavs, who have historically been more agrarian than their Eastern counterparts. Some genetic studies also suggest that Northern Slavs have a higher than average resilience to cold climates, possibly due to evolutionary adaptations to harsh winters. These adaptations include a tendency toward lighter skin tones for better vitamin D absorption and a higher prevalence of genes related to fat metabolism, which may have helped early Slavs survive in colder environments. Despite their shared ancestry, modern Slavs exhibit significant regional genetic differences due to historical migrations, conquests, and intermarriage. Poles, Czechs, and Slovaks show strong genetic ties to Germans and Balts, while Russians and Ukrainians have more genetic influence from Finnic and Uralic peoples. Southern Slavs, such as Serbs and Bulgarians, have additional genetic contributions from ancient Franks, Greeks, and Turkic peoples. In summary, while the Slavs share a common genetic heritage, their long history of migration and interaction with neighboring groups has created a diverse yet interconnected genetic identity. But how do these genetic findings align with historical and linguistic evidence? Let's explore the scientific breakthroughs that have helped unravel the Slavic genetic mystery. Over the past few decades, advancements in genetic research have completely transformed our understanding of Slavic origins. Using cutting-edge DNA analysis techniques, scientists have traced Slavic ancestry through ancient remains, migration patterns, and genetic markers specific to Slavic populations. One of the most significant breakthroughs came from ancient DNA sequencing. Archaeological sites in Poland, Ukraine, and Russia have unearthed human remains dating back over 3,000 years. When analyzed, these remains showed high levels of the R1A282 haplogroup, confirming the deep Indo-European roots of Slavic populations. This genetic lineage is associated with the corded ware culture, a group of early European farmers and warriors who likely played a role in the formation of early Slavic identity. Another major discovery emerged from studies of early medieval burial sites. Skeletons from the 6th to 10th century CE found in Central and Eastern Europe reveal a mix of genetic signatures, proving that early Slavs intermingled with local populations rather than replacing them. Some remains show genetic continuity with earlier European tribes, such as the Celts, Goths, and Scythians, suggesting that Slavic expansion was not solely a matter of conquest, but also involved assimilation. Modern genetics has also provided insights into the Mongol and Turkic influences on Slavic DNA. Analysis of Russian and Ukrainian populations shows minor traces of Mongolic and Turkic DNA, confirming historical accounts of interactions with the Golden Horde and other nomadic groups. However, these influences are relatively small, indicating that while the Mongols ruled Slavic lands for centuries, they left only a limited genetic impact. Another fascinating discovery was made through DNA testing of medieval Slavic royalty. Genetic samples taken from remains believed to belong to the Rurik dynasty, the founders of Kievan Rus, showed a mixture of Slavic and Scandinavian ancestry, confirming the historical connection between the Varangians, Vikings, and the Eastern Slavs. This discovery supports historical records indicating that the first rulers of Kievan Rus had Norse origins before fully integrating into Slavic culture. Advancements in genome-wide studies have also enabled scientists to compare modern Slavic populations with other ethnic groups. These studies confirm that while the Slavs are genetically distinct, they share significant ancestry with their neighbors. For example, Poles and Czechs show strong genetic similarities with Germans and Balts, while Serbs and Bulgarians share ancestry with Greeks and Romanians. This reflects centuries of interaction, migration, and intermarriage between Slavic and non-Slavic groups. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of Slavic genetic research is its role in uncovering lost Slavic communities. DNA testing has helped identify populations in Central Asia, the Caucasus, and even Turkey with distant Slavic ancestry, remnants of medieval migrations and forced displacements. With so many groundbreaking discoveries, the question remains, what does this mean for modern Slavic identity? Slavic DNA is more than just a collection of genetic markers. It is a living record of history, migration, and cultural evolution. So, what does modern genetic research tell us about Slavic identity today? One of the most fascinating aspects of Slavic genetics is the strong ancestral connection between Slavic nations. Despite centuries of political and cultural differences, genetic studies show that Slavic peoples, whether they are Russians, Poles, Serbs, or Bulgarians, share a significant amount of common ancestry. This genetic unity supports historical records of early Slavs expanding from a single origin point and later branching into different regional groups. However, Slavic DNA also highlights regional diversity. While Eastern, Western, and Southern Slavs all descend from the same ancestral population, historical migrations and interactions with neighboring groups have created distinct genetic variations. For example, Poles and Czechs have noticeable Western European influences, while Russians and Ukrainians have traces of Finno-Ugric and Mongolic ancestry. Meanwhile, Balkan Slavs like Serbs and Croats show genetic links to ancient Franks and Illyrians. Genetic research also sheds light on historical myths and national identity. Many Slavic nations have oral traditions about their origins, some of which have long been debated by historians. DNA evidence has helped confirm or challenge these narratives. For instance, some historical theories suggested that Russians and Ukrainians had entirely different origins, but genetic studies prove they share overwhelmingly similar ancestry. Likewise, genetic research has shown that Bulgarians, despite their Turkic-named origins, are largely Slavic in their genetic makeup, with only minor Central Asian influences. Another important finding from genetic studies is the resilience of Slavic populations. Despite centuries of invasions, wars, and foreign rule, Slavic DNA has remained remarkably consistent. Even populations that were historically ruled by non-Slavic empires, such as Poles under Germanic rule or Serbs under Ottoman rule, maintain strong genetic continuity with their ancient Slavic ancestors. In the modern era, DNA testing has also helped people of Slavic descent reconnect with their roots. With the rise of genetic ancestry services, many individuals with distant Slavic ancestry, especially in North America and Central Asia, are discovering their links to Slavic heritage. This has sparked a renewed interest in Slavic history, language, and cultural traditions. Ultimately, Slavic genetics tells a story of unity through diversity. While the Slavs are not a single homogeneous group, their DNA reveals deep historical connections that transcend modern national borders. Genetic research continues to reveal new insights, enhancing our understanding of Slavic heritage and its place in the broader history of Europe and the world. As we continue to unlock the secrets of Slavic DNA, one thing remains clear. The legacy of the Slavs is written not just in history books, but in their very genes.